Hello everyone, myself Alim and welcome to the session of quadratic equations. Now equations so far have been one of the most dreadful dreams for the students. The reason being that they seem extremely complicated at the first go. But to be very honest, the equations are the one which are extremely simple. They make actually more sense than most of the parts of mathematics, and just because of their appearance they're always misunderstood. So basically in this session we are intending to remove all that fear of equations and develop keen interest using the concept of quadratic equation. So without much delay, let's get into it. First of all, the question arises, what is meant by quadratic equation? Now, before going to that, I'd like to inform you that we are going to start from level 0, considering you have no idea regarding equation. Okay, let's take it one step further. Let's go to level minus 1. Let's start from polynomials. Now, if you remember, polynomials are basically nothing, just a combination of numbers and variables. Like x, y, z and numbers, they combine and such 2 or 3 terms are added or subtracted in order to form a polynomial. That's the basic idea of polynomial. But if you see carefully, consider a polynomial 2x. Okay, now x is a variable. Consider if x is weight of a bull. Okay, now 2 times the weight of a bull. So basically, if I write a polynomial 2x, it represents 2 times the weight of a bull. This sentence in itself is incomplete. You might be knowing that 2 times the weight of the bull doesn't make any sense. But if I add something to it, if I say 2 times the weight of a bull is equals to 10 times the weight of a dog, consider a dog. Okay, so this now makes sense that 2 times the weight of a bull makes the 10 times the weight of a dog. So basically, I'm adding an equal to sign. I'm writing something on the other side also. Same we are doing to form equations. We take a polynomial, we add an equal to sign and write something on the other side. Consider if polynomial is left hand side, we left hand side is equals to something on the right hand side. In most of the cases, in our case, we make it as 0. So polynomial is equals to 0. Now this forms an equation. Now considering the highest power of the variable, that is x and y, there are classification of the polynomials. So regarding the classification, we just need to know one thing, that if the highest power of the variable is equals to 2, then it is called a quadratic polynomial. And if the same polynomial is converted into equation, it is called a correct. It's a quadratic equation. Simple as that. Okay, so I hope you got the basic idea how quadratic equations are converted into polynomials are converted into equations, and how quadratic polynomials are converted into quadratic equations. The reason behind is to just make sense out of. Okay, so with that, let's move forward. Now, to make it in more sophisticated way, we can write it like this. Consider something called as p of x. Here, if you see on the screen, there is some term called p in bracket x. It is called p of x in mathematics. So p of x is equals to polynomial. Basically, this p of x is called a function. What is a function? Function is just a compressed form. We write this entire polynomial. We say that this entire polynomial is just equals to p of x. Have you seen that Iron Man's recreation of that crime scene? If you have seen that scene, in that Iron Man takes a huge chunk of data, the various news and all the articles, and just convert it into one simple, compress it into one simple form. That is, it forms an entire recreation of the entire crime scene. Similar way, what we do, we compress all this big polynomial into a small thing called as p of x. Now, if p of x comprises of this polynomial, if I just rearrange the polynomial of in which is encapsulated in that p of x in the decreasing order of the power of variable. Consider x square, then x, then x. No, nothing. There is x raised to 0. There is nothing. So if I write it in the other, for example, I can write it x raised to 4, x raised to 3, x square, x, and there is nothing. There might be mostly constant or there is nothing. So if I write it in this way, that is decreasing order of the power, then I get the standard format of the quadratic equation, which is shown on the screen. That is ax square plus bx plus c is equals to 0, considering the fact that a must never be equal to 0. Why is it so? Think over it. Yeah, the answer is, the reason we called it as a quadratic equation is because it comprises of the x square term. Once the x square terms get eliminated, it might convert into some other form of equation, but not it's not called anymore. It's not a quadratic equation. So that's why a must be present. A should never be equal to 0. If a equals to 0, then x squared will get eliminated and the equation will become a simple equation. It's a linear equation. It's not a quadratic equation anymore. So with that condition, we'll move forward. Now, what are the uses of quadratic equation? We need to understand that where do we find this equation? To be very honest, there are many areas in our life where these quadratic equation come to be handy. The following are the three examples which comprise of two commercial example and one you might have been familiar with. The first example is figuring out the profit. Have you ever come across the term called business targets? Yeah, there are always business targets said that I have to sell this much goods in 1 year or I have to sell this much services in 1 year. The basic idea behind that is there is a owner of the company. Now owner knows what is the cost it is required in order to run the company, and secondly owner knows that there is certain profit he has to gain. Considering both of this, he sets a target that I have to gain this much money. Consider it as 1,000 rupees. I have to take 1,000 rupees in 1 day. Okay, now he knows the cost of one service or good. Okay, now we know both, but two information: service, the cost of one service and good, and secondly what is the total cost that has to be removed or the total money that has to be attained from the market. Considering this two information, we put it into an equation which is formed. We form an equation, we put this two information and we get the value of the unknown, that is the target number of goods and services that has to be sold in order to attain the that much amount of profit or that much amount of money for the organization. In this way, it is used for figuring out the profit. Secondly, in sports, if you see the athletes, they are like extremes. They push their limits in order to attain something. Now, in that scenario, it is very much essential to track their health, the health parameters like BP, heart rate, and everything. Now, if we look carefully, what we know basically is their blood type or their skin type or the pressure which is exerted on the skin or their the heartbeat. Usually, we can calculate with some device. So, taking into consideration these parameters, we have to define the blood pressure, breathing rate, and everything. So we use this information, put it into an equation, which eventually gives us the values of BP, heart rate, and everything else. So in this way, it is used in sports also. And finally, the most common example that you might be all come across is the dish TV. Have you ever seen that the dish persons, when they come to install the dishes, they have this device in their hand and they have some booklets. What they basically have, in what the information they basically have is basically have the minimum strength which is required at your area, and secondly the device shows the pointing towards the direction which has maximum connection. So taking into both this information into consideration, they do the calculation and they find out the angle of tilt and angle at which this dish has to be fixed in order to get the maximum network. So basically, equations are nothing but we put some information into a line, mathematical line, and we get the value of unknown, which is mostly the variable. That's why it is called as the variable. It varies, it changes, and we want to catch that variable and put it into a single value. How we do it, I'll show you in the next slide. So as if for now, let's move forward. Let's move towards the quiz. Now, in regards of the quiz, there are some simple questions I want you to answer. You can just take the pen paper and as if for now, just pause the video, take the pen paper, try to solve the question, and the answer will be available at the end of each quiz. Okay, so start. I hope you are done with this slide. Next one. Okay, now there's one secret I need to do. There is something fishy with this question. Just be careful. Okay, in case. Continue. Next. This the answers of all the questions. I hope you have paused the video and have seen. If you haven't, just go back, pause the video, solve it, and come towards the answer. Okay, now next question. How do we use the equations in our day-to-day life? Now, those examples were very good as far as the academics were concerned. But what we want the clearance. We want more idea how exactly it is done. We'll do it using an question. Okay, it's quite simple. The ice cream fact. The question says that suppose we have to cut a rectangular slice of ice cream from a tray with area. That slice area should be 100 centimeters square, such that the length is 1 centimeter greater than its width. Find the length and width. How to do that? In my case, I think I'll just take the tray and run off. But to tackle with the question, basically what we need to do is to form the equation out of it. How to convert this into mathematical form. And this is most important part, to be very honest. It's very easy to solve an equation. It's more hard to form an equation. That's the major part where the students lack. Just go through few examples. It's nothing hard. Just go through few examples, know the approach, what they do, and finally get to know that how to form an equation out of the given statement or situation. Okay, so for this, we'll have a look at how it is done. Area of a rectangle we all know is equal to length into breadth. Now area given is 100 centimeters square. Condition. Just look at the condition. If I look at the condition, length is 1 centimeter greater than breadth. So if breadth is 10 centimeter, length is 11 centimeter. Breadth is 12 centimeter, length is 13 centimeter. So if breadth is x centimeter, length is x plus 1 centimeter. Exactly. And that's the condition that I have used. I've considered breadth as x and length as x plus 1. Length into breadth is equals to area, which is 100. Solving the simplifying it, I get the equation. Now, how to get the value of x, or that is breadth? I'll show you in the upcoming slides. We'll go there. Okay. So moving towards the next, again, a small question in order to tackle. Now, this question is again more of an aptitude kind of question. You will solve it if just try to solve it and you will get the answer. There is nothing hard about it, but it can be solved using equations, but it's a kind of aptitude kind of question that I want you to solve. But eventually you will get to know that how much it's easy to solve using an equation. Okay, I hope you have done it. Just pause the video and do it. Okay, now this is the answer, but just don't go through the answer as if for now. You can go forward, have the look how to find the solution of the equation, and finally will arrive at it, how you have done. Okay, so solution of a quadratic equation by factorization. Now solution, what does that mean? How to solve any equation, everything. Let's just have a look. Let's just discuss. Simple. Let's start with the basics. Again, basics. We start always with the basics, level 0. Okay. So the basics goes that we have an equation. Consider the one on the screen. X square minus 2x is plus 1 is equals to 0. Now, consider this statement. I want to solve this equation. What I basically want is to find the value of x, that is variable. This variable always changes its value. But the question arises, it changes its value. It will take hundreds of values. But what are we interested? We are interested in finding one or two particular values. In case of quadratic equation, there are two particular values of the variable at which the equation is satisfied. What does that basically mean? Basically, it means that there are two values of variable at which the left hand side will be equals to right hand side. Why do I have to make that? You just look at the equation. Equations are basically, I have said in the first part, polynomial is equals to something. So if I consider instead of polynomial, if I say left hand side is equals to right hand side, is that wrong? No. Left hand side is equals to right hand side. That's what equation basically says at the very core. Yeah. Now, because of the variables, this polynomial can take any value. But there is certain value of polynomial at which it becomes, if I solve that polynomial, its value is exactly equal to something on the right hand side. For now, let's consider right hand side is 0. So for some particular value of that variable x, y, z, whatever it might be, it will attain the value as 0. That is right hand side. And that's called the satisfying of equation, making left hand side equals to right hand. Okay. Now what does the solution mean? Solution is just basically this value of x and y, x, y, z, or variable. This value of x, y, z is called as the solution of the quadratic equation. Okay, so what we are interested in? We are interested in finding out the values of x and y at which the equation is satisfied, which basically means that the left hand side is equal to the right hand. Simple as that. Now, how to do that? There is one activity on the screen. Then what we have basically done is we have just used the trial and error method. We have just looked at the equation, and I assume that if I put the value of x as 1, what it comes out to be 1 square minus 2 into 1 plus 1, it comes out to be 0. So left hand side becomes 0. It is equals to right hand side is equals to 0. So equation is satisfied. That's good. Okay, so basically 1 is called as the solution of the quadratic equation. or it is called as the non or it is in the case of polynomials, it is also called as the root. It's called as a zero root because it makes the value of the polynomial as zero. Okay, now how it is done, this is a random method. I have just put out the values one, but is there any standard method to find out the same? Yes, there are numerous methods in order to find out the value of x and y, that is variable. In this case, we are using factorization. So factorization, as you might be familiar with the factorization because it was a part of the earlier class. But again, we are at level 0. I'll just revise the stuff. Factorization basically means that we have to split, now carefully listen, we have to split the product of the end coefficients into such a way that its addition or subtraction must come out to be the value of middle coefficient. Again, we are splitting the product of the end coefficient in such a way that its addition or subtraction must be equal to the middle coefficient. What does that basically mean? In the previous slide, we have seen there is an equation. X square minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Can you say me the value of coefficients? Coefficients are something which are in front of the variables. So in first term, the x square term, there is 1. In the x term, there is minus 2. And finally, there is 1. Because in front of that, there is no x. That basically means that x raised to 0. Okay. So coefficients are 1, minus 2, and 1. End coefficients are x square in front of x square and the final one, 1. So 1 and 1 are the end coefficients. If I multiply them, it comes out to be 1. I have to split that 1 in such a way that its product must, its addition or subtraction must come out to be minus 2. That is middle coefficient. How I can do it? I'll just split it as, I can say minus 1, minus 1. Minus 1 into minus 1, that comes out to be 1. Product is again same, but its addition comes out to be minus 2. So that's the basic idea of factorization, and that's all you need to know. Simple. Okay, so with that, we have completed factorization. It's basically the splitting of the middle term. As a matter of fact, it is invented, or it was introduced, or you might say that it's dedicated towards the Greek. It said that it has a Greek origin. The reason being that the Greek knew how to split the middle term. So in mathematics, it's quite simple. It's just splitting of the middle term, and you have splitting of the product of n term into such a way that its addition or subtraction must come out to be the middle term. So using that, we are going to solve an question which is on the screen. How to do that? I'll show you. Just follow with me, and you will be very clear. Okay, so let's begin. So here's the question. Now we have to solve this question. How to do that? First of all, we know we have to carry out the factorization. Let's carry out the factorization. So factorization says the product of the end coefficient must be split into such a way that its addition or subtraction must be equal to the middle coefficient, that is minus 5. If I look carefully, 2 and 3, they make itself plus 5, but I want minus 5. So why not consider minus 2 and minus 3? The product is also equal to plus 6 and its addition is equals to minus 5. So considering this, I can just write it down like this. 2x square, and I consider the middle term. I will split the middle term now. How? Minus 2x and minus 3x. Using these two factors that I have got, I'll split the middle term and I'll write everything as it is. Now, for ease of solution or for ease of solving, we'll just consider this thing as first term and this thing as second term. Why? I have to take common from the first term. What's common? I can consider 2x as common and remaining is x minus 1. Now considering the second term, if you look at the second term, if I consider minus 3 as common, what's remaining is x minus 1. Now one thing that you must keep in mind, that take things common which make these two brackets, that is x minus 1, x minus 2, you have seen, we get two brackets identical. So we have to take things common in such a way that we get two identical brackets. If I have taken plus 3, then the brackets would not have been common. So take things common such a way that the two brackets we get must be identical. Now all we have to do is we just take this x minus 1 common, and what's remaining is 2x minus 3, that is equals to 0. Now consider this way. If I take x minus 1 as a and 2x minus 3 as b, just tell me one possibility where the product of two terms is 0. There's only one possibility. One of the term must be equal to 0. If you look carefully, the product of two terms comes out to be 0 only and only when one of the thing must be equal to 0. I'll consider both the possibilities. If I consider both the possibilities, what I get is, I'll say x minus 1 can be 0, and if I solve this, I get x equal to 1. This is the one possibility. And second thing, if I see 2x minus 3 equal to 0, then solving this, I get 2x equals to 3 and x equals to 3 by 2. This is the second possibility. Consider both the values of x. If we put, let's just try for 1. If I put 1 in place of x, what's the answer? 2x square minus 5x plus 3. Consider the first equation. Okay. If I put 1 here, 2 into 1 square, that is 2, minus 5 into 1, minus 5, 2 minus 5, minus 3 into minus 3 plus 3, it is equals to 0. So left hand side becomes 0, which is equals to right hand side, which is equals to 0. So our equation is satisfied. That's the whole concept we have to deal with. We have to find two values for which the equation is satisfied. Now, have you ever imagined why you used factorization in order to carry out all these things? Just consider this. Now, middle term, that is minus 5, can be split in number of ways. That can be minus 6 y plus 1, or minus 1 minus 4. There are infinite ways in which the middle term can be split. But factorization gives us exactly the guidelines, that is minus 2 and minus 3. It gives us the guidelines to split the middle term in such a way that in the upcoming steps, the things get common, we get common brackets, we get common terms, and eventually we get two elements, that is two basic brackets, which we use as an iterations. We say that this bracket is equals to 0 and second bracket is also equals to 0. We check both the possibilities. So basically, factorization is very much important in order to give us this guideline how to split the middle term in order to get the upcoming steps. So with that, thank you so very much. Let's have a just glance at what we have done so far. What is quadratic equation? We went from polynomials, then we went to quadratic polynomials, we went to equations. Finally, we've reached to quadratic equation. It's all a link. Then next, how it processes our way. I've given you numerous examples. We have solved the ice cream problems also. So you can just have a look at it and you'll get it. And finally, the solution, it has been explained in, I think, one of the most best format, because I have taken it from very basics, what is meant by solution, to how to solve an entire equation. So thank you so much for your patient listening. I hope you are clear with everything. In case you have any doubts, you can always put it in the comment section, and I'll see you in another session. Thank you so much.